Hello, and welcome to the second in our series of the Digibee webinars. This is entitled Frictionless Transformation Strategy. That's the overall theme. My name is Alex Hilton. I'm the Chief Executive of the Cloud Industry Forum. It's my pleasure to be your host and moderator and really just the question asker. I got the simple job. So I got Madhav and Tam there. Hi, guys. Just give us a wave.
Hi.
Audio's working. That's all great. I'll ask you to introduce yourselves in a second. Today's topic, though, is all about ERP and particularly, legacy ERP to S/4HANA in record time is how we've described it. So we've got some experts on the line here, which is going to help my job significantly. And Madhav, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us where you're from, a little bit of your background and so forth. And then Tam, go ahead, Madhav.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks for the intro. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are. It's glad to be here, and thanks for it's been an honor and a privilege to invite me to this forum. And I'm Madhav Kondapalli. I've been in IT for now 30 plus years, and 27 years of all implementing, supporting SAP implementations worldwide. I came to work with PricewaterhouseCoopers into 1998 to US, and it's been 25 years servicing customers here in the US. And overall, I have been involved with 40 plus SAP engagements, 18 global rollouts. And last 8 years, I've been involved with SAP HANA journey and S4HANA. I recently completed my 7th global rollout on SAP S4HANA. I have been through both Greenfield, Bluefield, global rollouts on various vertical industries during my SAP career, and I'm very glad to be here to share my experiences and some of the success stories, also some of the pains and things that will be of very essential importance in the journey for any customer who need to migrate, who need to transition over into SAP's digital framework platform in the next coming few years. 2027 is going to be the big year for all SAP ERP solutions to be migrated into S/4HANA. So if they have not started the journey, it will be detrimental. So we will talk more details. I'm very glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhav. That's great. You've obviously got a wealth of experience, which we're going to tap into as best we can as we go through this conversation. Hi, Tam. Good to see you again. You well?
Yes. Thanks, Alex, for inviting me back, and it's good to have you here. And Madhav, it's nice to meet you and to be joined by you as well. For those of you that don't know me yet, my name is Tam Ayers. I'm a field CTO here for North America at Digibee. Prior to joining Digibee about a year ago, I was a field CTO at ServiceNow, and then before that had various IT consulting backgrounds. But couldn't agree more with Madhav that 2027 is right around the corner, and the value and the benefits that customers are receiving today out of migrating from ECC to S4HANA are tremendous. However, there's a lot of friction and pain points to be able to get there, and hopefully today we can have a conversation that's engaging for the audience around some of the things they can do to overcome some of that friction, but ultimately unlock the most value from their ERP as we talk about that in the context of a digital transformation agenda.
Yeah, that's great, Tam. All right, I'm looking forward to this. Thanks, guys. Madhav, let's dive straight in if we can. I want to start off, if I can, by just examining what's driving the migration to S/4HANA. There's as you referenced, there's obviously some impending end of service date around the corner, not so far around the corner, I suppose, but there are also some technology improvements that S/4HANA provides. Can you talk about those a little bit for us first, Madhav?
Yeah, absolutely, Alex. So it's around the early 2013-14 timeframe is when SAP introduced their new digital framework, digital platform, SAP to be reimaged in the new digital framework and a new platform, which is the SAP HANA-centric. HANA is an in-memory database. And when I say in-memory database, a lot of the technical folks in the ERP world already knows today what is in-memory database. Briefly, I will say there used to be 3-tier architecture in the previous SAP world with the prior SAP versions before SAP S/4HANA. There is a client layer where you have your desktop or laptop or your presentation layer. Then you have your database layer, which is all the way at the bottom, which is hosted on some of these hosting partners. And then you have the application layer. So that's the three-tier architecture in the past. As for HANA, they brought the database into the application layer in the memory, and then they put it in the in-memory RAM of a SAP server or SAP server systems. So that has done a tremendous change. Obviously, it was a very powerful thought. Just bringing the whole database. Trillions of records for some of the large multi-billion-dollar conglomerates companies. Bringing that kind of heavy database into in memory is a very heavy lifting. So what they have done tremendous work going back and beefed up the platform. And so to be able to support that kind of a heavy data structures, databases to stay in there. So what it did, now you have direct connection from your presentation layer directly talking to the data without being, going through the logic. And so the logic is built into the same layer through a new structural mechanism they built in the database structures, which are columnar. So not getting into too much technical details. So what it did is it has increased the transactional speed by hundreds of times faster than what it used to be in the previous work. So hundreds of times. So for example, if you have to look up a large database of the last 5-year financial data, and you need to pull up a customer's profitability, it used to take at least a 5 to 10 minute, 20 minute sometimes transactional time. Now it's going to be less than 5 seconds. That's what this new infrastructure did. SAP's new platform with S/4HANA did to the business world out there. It has brought agility, speed, and also S/4HANA, they have reimaged the business applications to bring a new feature called putting insights to action. So everything, what you're going to be doing, it's the application is going to support you to be able to service you to get your job done much quicker, faster, all built in within the application. A phenomenal feature that was asked, customers have been asking for the last 30 plus years. Obviously, SAP, when they started their journey in 1972 till S/4HANA, again, if you say the early days, 2012, 13, 14s, now you're talking SAP S/4HANA is a stabilized product where customers are able to reap the benefit of realization. So we're going to get into more details of how quick the transition can work, what SAP can do, some of the challenges for companies, as not only the large companies, multi-billion-dollar companies, multinational companies, also small and medium business can now afford to go to S/4HANA because they have a new opportunity with the cloud offering of SAP S/4HANA application for mid-size and small size. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fascinating, Madhav. Thank you. There's obviously some very significant and material improvements that are being made here, and you've highlighted some of those. So thank you for that one. So Tam, just turning to you if I can on this one. There's some big changes there, right? So shifting to an entirely new set of technology does, of course, raise a whole new set of concerns as well. Can you talk a little bit, Tam, to what some of those most common challenges that businesses might encounter when they're going through this migration a little bit for us?
Yeah, and so Madhav really highlighted a lot of the technical benefits and changes that have come to the SAP platform as it's gone through this, iteration. From my past experience at ServiceNow and having conversations with a lot of these customers that are using SAP or similar ERPs, these are things that people don't necessarily want to change all of the time. When the business is operating, when it's operating and it's fine, it's kind of the old adage of if it's not broke, don't fix it. So now when you're going through something that is, and upgrading something that is completely to something that's almost completely and radically different, even though it's accomplishing better, the same outcomes, but in a better fashion, you're having to go through this digital transformation exercise in order to be able to embrace it. And from the conversations that I've had with customers at Digibee that we're helping with, is really around all of the different satellite systems that feed into the ERP and those workflows that really connect the entire enterprise. And so when you start thinking about changing out the heart, which is that of SAP, and moving it somewhere else, or shifting the way that you do business around that technology, all of these other dependent systems that are either feeding data into the ERP or taking data out of it, those now need to be adapted and changed. And sometimes those are process changes, but a lot of times they're definitely technology changes. Big shift there is that if ECC was maybe running on-prem for you, and now you're utilizing some of the goodness of the cloud and that Madhav was talking about there, now you're essentially needing to get that data flow and those processes into the cloud. Well, are you now going to embrace all of this good new technology when it comes to your core ERP, but maybe keep legacy processes that kind of hamper the total amount of value that these different solutions, that because of these satellite systems, are you going to hamper the value that the new cloud-based solution has because you're kind of stuck in your way with these other fundamental systems that need to feed into those ERP workflows? And so what we're seeing now is companies moving away from kind of the traditional batch-based processing that they used to do in the past in favor of more real-time microservices architectures and approaches. And
Right.
Sometimes those satellite systems are tough to be able to get to do that. And so when what happens is these big bang digital transformation projects where customers are having to say, okay, we're ready to make this shift to SAP S/4HANA, migrate to the cloud, get off of ECC. Great, we're all in alignment there. But what are these other systems and processes? What technology and organizational change is needed to be able to get the full value? So now we're all of a sudden having to upgrade or think of a project to upgrade our WMS or our TMS solution or our CRM, right? To be able to support and integrate easily to this new cloud-based technology that we're investing in. And so it's easy to see how these projects and how that 2027 timeline is actually fastly approaching for some of these larger enterprises, because now they have to do all of these kind of sub projects around the satellite systems to be able to more modernize them. And how do you change the tire on the car while it's still going 90 miles an hour down the highway? Because just because you're modernizing your WMS or your TMS or some other system that's feeding into SAP that's going to be in the cloud, you still have to support it on-prem in the existing processes. There's no magic, let's just stop the whole business for a little bit while we're able to do this migration. And so there's a lot of complexities that come in there. And so how you can work out a way to abstract that and accelerate the project to, hey, let's focus in core on SAP and that modernization, and not only upgrade my satellite systems and these other projects because I have to. We're helping at Digibee people unlock that and truly allowing them to focus on the digital transformation at hand, not only upgrading these satellite systems because they have to, because of some new cloud-based solution or this migration with SAP. So it lets our customers be more in control of the timeline when it comes to transformation. But it's an understatement to say that it's a daunting and huge hurdle that a lot of companies have to get over to be able to get through their SAP migrations to unlock all that value.
Yeah, that's good. Really interesting. Thanks, Tam. Madhav, I don't know if you want to build on that at all. I mean, I'm assuming you agree with the things. I saw you nodding quite a bit there with the things Tam was saying. Are there any other challenges you'd want to build into that?
Yes, absolutely. So Tam brought up a very important spin in this with just, SAP as an ERP, it has to go through a roadmap to move quickly to the new adoption that is required. There are twofold of it. One, customers are happy, excited about the new digital framework, the new amazing S/4HANA solution that's going to transform their business faster, better, much user-friendly adoption with its front-end SAP UI. Fiori, that has done such a miracle. It's an award-winning solution for that actually has been appreciated by customers and users. But now all these satellite projects, and there are other projects that are going to integrate with ECC. In the past, now they all need to be reintegrated to S/4HANA. But with the SAP's cloud platform integration infrastructure, it's pretty quick, and that's a very welcoming thing that SAP has done.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Tam, I'm going to come back to you on this one. I want to stick with the business challenges for a moment. And and we've seen we know companies of different sizes have all every business has different challenges, right, of different sorts, and regardless of any kind of transformation they might be going through. I just want to kind of break this down a little bit. Do the challenges that small and medium businesses face, are they different, particularly different to large companies? And I guess are the factors that the larger companies face, therefore different in contrast as well? Can you just build on the different size of organizations?
Yeah, that's a great question and interesting, right? So I would say that I actually recently had the privilege of attending a mid-size enterprise conference and actually speaking there. And I was surprised to hear that a lot of the problems that they're facing are actually in some ways more complex than some of the larger organizations. They just have less resources to be able to do it with, and shorter tolerance for the horizons to be able to execute on fixing those things. So, but I would say that the one thing that's kind of overwhelming that I've seen is you start thinking about the differences of use cases. Maybe they're not leveraging quite as much of the feature set that SAP has to offer when you're in the more medium size. And maybe some of the processes aren't as advanced, and there's less need for some of the access controls and governance that are needed and different types of roles within SAP. But I think the one thing that is really common that I'm seeing here is the lack of skills kind of across the entire industry is amplified, or a skills gap and labor gap, talent gap, if you will, on the more mid-sized enterprise. They can't go out and hire these experts that they need to not only make SAP work, but also all of the different satellite systems and processes that have to change around the organization. And so that real talent gap, or that skills gap, especially if you start thinking about hiring experts around the existing process or the existing technology that you have, that is now fundamentally different than what you're trying to go to, not just from the actual, as Manav was describing earlier, the actual technology behind SAP, but now almost the processes. Again, batch processes and architecting around that are very different than moving to a more microservices and cloud-based approach. So it's all the tangential other things that go into the end-to-end process or end-to-end workflow that an enterprise-grade ERP like S/4HANA comes to bring, and that shift that comes forward. So how companies are dealing with that, especially in this kind of economic environment uncertainty, when wage inflation is high, it's hard to find the right talent, productivity levels are at all-time lows. These things are just even more amplified by smaller or mid-sized companies that might not have as much pull to get that kind of talent, or the bandwidth or the budget to be able to go out and hire that from a consultative practice. But Manav, I'd love to hear your kind of opinions on that as well.
Thank you, Tam, for that insight. Very, very, very important that you brought up. Very important highlight. So SAP has been hearing very carefully with this new digital transform and completely break free from the previous ERP, ECC that has lived for 30 years. Going to this new S/4HANA will be a very toughie for businesses out there, unless SAP came with a plan to make it easy for the transition, how to move this new solution, humongously new solution, completely reimaged, completely new infrastructure and architecture. What they did two folds of making it easy for the world out there. They gave an S/4HANA on-premise version, which comes every year, available with the new features. Then they have SAP SaaS offering, which is subscription-based, which you can basically, you don't need to have on-premise model anymore. It's sitting there on private or public cloud. You just subscribe. You're a small business, or you're a medium business, about less than $1 billion, or you're a few millions of dollars, and then now you have as simpler subscription model as any other ERP or larger size IT software companies out there. So that gave a phenomenal opportunity for medium and mid-size and small businesses to adopt ERP for the first time. A full-blown ERP, fully functional, is now ready for be able to leverage. These companies are able to subscribe and use the solution real time in the public cloud under tenancy and subscription model. So that's a phenomenal change that SAP brought, and it did a miracle. So SAP is the leading ERP cloud offering, subscription-based SaaS model in the world right now.
Yeah, and obviously interesting. That's presenting, as you say, their might have bigger opportunities and entry in for that SMB market space as well. So that's clearly, a big win there. And I think it's important that we don't just focus on the challenges. We often in these conversations, become kind of harbingers of doom and how terrible and how difficult it will be. Oh, and look, and here's some people who can sell you some services that will help with that. I wonder who. However, I know, sorry, Tam. Outside of that, there are clearly, and you both already, highlighted some of these, some really technical advances that are, being made here. Madhav, let me turn to you on this one first, as I guess more the technologist in terms of your hands-on experience around this. How does S4HANA differ from its predecessor in capability? Can you just build on that on the technical side a little bit?
Yeah, so I will bring some of the real changes they brought, why they need to bring S4HANA. S4HANA, as I previously told you, is not anymore 3-tier architecture. It's now you have the client directly talking with the application and database in the in-memory database. That's a phenomenally new, modern solution that they have built to significantly improve the speed. That is unbelievably, the customers are delighted, number one. Number two, there are many other features. ERP, ECC solution in the past had lagged, had issues with the database. And it is also, though it was a popular ERP for large organizations, it was only available to large organizations significantly because of the model that you have to have on-premise. Previously, SAP was also available to be put on any database. But with S4HANA, you have to put SAP on their HANA database only going forward. What it did, it seamlessly integrates into your database structures, and it has improved the speed of implementation from years to few months nowadays for us to go with your goal client and goals and opportunity of making sure that your release one, when I say release one, is your global template, the out-of-the-box features, best practices, greenfield implementation. So they have 3 different models. One is greenfield, and there's a brownfield, and there is a hybrid version, which is also called brown. So a greenfield is you're taking basically, SAP says, here you go, I'll give you the best practices with our 30 plus years of learning your business as well. And we put everything in one box. Now it's ready to be consumed by you. All you need to do is just load the data in database, HANA database, and it's ready to go. Just click our button. So as soon as the installation is done, you're really ready to play the system. Unlike in the predecessor, you don't have that luxury. You need to go through so much of development cycle and migration, data conversion, all that other stuff. Right now, you still do some amount of data conversion and data migration, but nothing like ECC. It was very difficult in the past to upgrade. Number 2, the solution now also previously was all modular based. Finance was a module. FICO, AR, account receivables, AP, account payables, costing, controlling, and profitability analysis. They're all chunks of literal separate modules. There was a lot of code reused because of having separate modules put into their own program logic and functional module. Not going into too much technology, I would say you're still a large ERP, but chunks actually fit into become a huge, like the movie Transformer, right? It's just sitting there, and then it all breaks out, and then it comes back and becomes a solid piece to drive around. Now with S4HANA, they brought the business industries packaging by business scenarios. Irrespective of which industry you're going to implement with S4HANA, they have industry-specific solution already also fit into S4HANA. SAP S4HANA Oil and Gas, SAP S4HANA High Tech, SAP S4HANA Media, SAP S4HANA. So you name the industry, they have chunked it to be catering to specific needs of the industry. There was an industry solution in the past in ECC as well, but that was a little different. So now they did a lot of rework to make sure that it fits seamlessly when it's implemented as a greenfield implementation, which was phenomenal. And I've really seen customers love that aspect of it. Break free from the previous world. The third big one, before I give it back to you, is the way SAP has now modularized the whole structure instead of finance, calling it, sales, marketing. Now they have, what do you call it? Is finance is now named as R2R, record to report, and or you can say ATR, account to report. This is the whole finance as one component. So it sits in a box and it's consumed by the rest of the industry verticals, which are towers, or you may call it like order to cash, procure to pay, source to supply. All this good stuff is happening seamlessly integrated, but they are business scenarios instead of actual modules that you need to fit in and make them communicate, which was very difficult in the past. Also, with that, I would like to bring one of the advantages that they have to make it easy is they used to have a solution called process integration through PI and PO. Now they brought something that has done miracles for them, is a cloud platform integration. The cloud connector, cloud platform integration, and their DBI structures. Now they renamed it. If you are going with a private SAP cloud, that is, you can still be in the cloud, but still can customize it for the business. But a private cloud used to be called HANA Enterprise Cloud, and that was catered for large billion-dollar customers, large businesses. And now you can also go to public cloud, which is a tenancy-based, much more easier to consume, but still small and medium businesses can also take the advantage of the same application, but only when they need it, how they need it. And adopting to this, they have the SaaS applications like Ariba, Concur, Fieldglass, SuccessFactors, you name it, and they have embraced it, and they all seamlessly integrate. It's not anymore you do them as a separate individual project. So you plan the greenfield implementation, all this actually comes around what you need to do accomplish with the solution. Back to you.
Thanks, Madhav. That's great. And I'm just kind of formulating another question in my head here, which is, for the existing SAP customer, all right, which I guess are going to be generally historically, more larger, mid to sort of large enterprise types of organizations. Implementing an ERP is a massive
yes,
thing
multi-year.
It's the kind of the lifeblood of the organization, I think, from an infrastructure perspective, I believe, in terms of my knowledge and understanding of it. Is there anything you could, help organizations go, this is the single big win, this is the thing that will make a difference in your migration? I'm not talking about new customers here, I'm talking about the migration. Firstly, they're going to be forced to go that way ultimately. But is there any one thing that you could go, this is the thing that will really make a difference to your business, Madhav?
Yeah, one of the things that customers actually are not feeling the pain to move to S/4HANA, they're actually loving to move because of the simple fact that now you are not necessarily have to deal with your software, hardware, solution, which is called application lifecycle management, support services, is all taken care by SAP. Business are happy to just use the solution, the application that they are supposed to use, not to worry about, oh my God, I have this problem with database, I have problem with servers, I have problem with networking. All is taken care by SAP. You need to run your sales orders, service orders, your field sales need to be there, your service tickets, and your financial transactions, your credit management. You use the application. It's more like a la carte. You go in the restaurant, you order food, and you just eating it, not cooking it anymore, not worry about getting it burnt. That's the beauty of S/4HANA. Customers are happy to have it.
Absolutely. I would agree with that completely. And I was just going to add in there that, those are the benefits, especially kind of going back to some of those skills gaps, the talent gaps that are out there, the time bandwidth, that everybody doesn't have anymore, right? Those are the things that customers are wanting those outcomes without having to deal with some of the headaches and hassles. And so while it might seem like it's a daunting task, it's always remembering that there is that kind of benefit on the backside of this entire process of why going there, right? And so, encouraging companies to, and giving the advice is essentially that you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to getting through this entire process. There's experts out there that have done this multiple times, companies out there that have trailblazed through this, and don't wait until 2027 because there's real tangible benefits right now that you'll get from an organization, and a lot of those are actually realized cost savings on top of the talent and the ability to, and the bandwidth and the cycles to manage all of these systems, but also, as Madhav was saying, now you're not managing a lot of that hardware, you're not managing that infrastructure, and you're able to, free up that time for people to work on other things.
Yeah.
Cool. Go ahead, Madhav.
That's what beauty that Tam just said at the last minute is helping businesses to now use their resources to be productive. Well, number one, do things that are actually much more beneficial for them to actually spend on strategy, tactical moves, rather than worrying about application defects, resolution of problems and issues. That's all taken care by SAP, because they own the solution. They also take care of how to enable you. So enablement of the customer is quicker, faster, and much better supported, which was a problem. A lot of customers in the past were pained by SAP, though the solution ERP was very strong and powerful. The solution support was very painful because every time you have an issue, then you need to go back to SAP. Customers go back to SAP. You create a ticket. The ticket gets resolved based on the priorities, and they have so many customers all over the world. So there's a delay. Now you don't need to deal with that.
Yeah, no,
you deal with that, but not at that level.
I understand. Thanks, Madhav. Tam, I want to turn to you, and this for me is kind of the bigger question, I suppose, in here. So businesses are. You've convinced people that the change is, well, it's necessary, but it's imminent, and they need to get on with it. So, Tam, what are the first steps that a business should make? Are there any, global, universal, holistic considerations, if you like, that you can recommend to businesses out there?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I'm sure that there's a lot of hopefully people watching this and kind of wondering and grappling with those kind of same questions now. But where do you even begin, right? First, I would say throw out some of your assumptions that you have around how painful you think this migration will actually be, right? That would be kind of part one, because I'd say that you're no longer an early adopter in S/4HANA if you're starting that journey now, right? This is whether you're coming on greenfield or you are doing this kind of migration in some of the different ways that Madhav was talking about. There are best practices and plans and accelerators and solutions to make that journey a lot less painful than it maybe was day one. But again, there's many successful companies, some of the largest brands in the world that have completed this move, right? So whatever you had explored years ago and maybe caused you to delay doing this now, let's throw that away and kind of reset. Then from there, it would be to have an engaging conversations around what acceleration and what were the pitfalls that other companies, maybe your peers, have experienced through this, and having some of those conversations, but also looking for, where were the most smooth, and asking your provider if you're getting help for this, right? Or asking your consultants, where was this the best? Where has this been done the most? Someone that's exactly like me, whether I'm in manufacturing or retail, or some areas of supply chain with that more complex supply chain, like what are the areas, where has this been done successfully before? Where have you done this before? And what are the hiccups and road bumps that you've been able to uncover there, and help us then develop that plan? So it kind of starts with a plan, but ultimately sell this from a place of, you might get the sense of urgency from your stakeholders and leaders of, hey, we have to do this by 2027, but don't wait much longer because of all the kind of opportunity cost, right? Or the missed opportunity and value that's kind of leaking right now that you're not receiving from being in S/4HANA, and use that as the reason to kind of accelerate both, as kind of the carrot and stick of, hey, we have to do this by 2027 anyway, but let's understand and explore all of the tangible value that we can get right now that we're not getting by kind of pushing this off. And then let's start looking at what are some accelerators and different technologies that have been out there now that multiples of these migrations have actually been completed. What are some things that we can benefit that maybe weren't available a few years ago that now make that journey even easier? And what you're going to see with that is as more and more of these migrations are getting shorter, the amount of effort and the amount of time that it takes to actually get one of these migrations done, it's continuing to compress. And so we're really in that sweet spot now where it's not too late to get started because you're going to be running out of a support window, but there's a lot of people that have already done it. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds on there.
Yeah, and that's great, Tam. And really what I'd like to come back with you now to both of you, actually. Madhav, I'll start with you if I may. It's really kind of my final question on this one is I just want to give, if you have some real world examples, I appreciate, Madhav, there may be some confidentiality issues around that one. So you have to anonymize, so be it. But I always find it really interesting and helpful if we have not necessarily case studies, but stories that you can reference at some level or other that have had a successful upgrade or update to S4HANA. And I guess as a part of that, maybe your kind of final takeaway comment from both of you that you would want to leave the audience with. Madhav, do you want to go first, then Tam?
Absolutely, Alex. Great question. Because one of the things that actually is rightly said by Tam as well is how businesses are. It's always an apprehension, right? It's always a feeling of, SAP is very difficult to always upgrade, to move from their current system to, in the past, it was very painful. So they were apprehensive in the beginning. But when SAP came and they actually showed the roadmap, SAP and some big four implementation services partners or SIs, they have done successful implementation. I myself has been hands-on with now 7+ implementations in S4HANA last 8 years. So what happened? There are success stories of some really large multi-billion-dollar organizations have taken less than a year or less than a year to migrate their core. When I say core, is the release one your global template? You are out of the box. Hey, I need minimum these. My manufacturing and commercial need to be there. So one of the largest pharmaceutical giant has been able to successfully migrate within a year under my when I managed the project. There's another project that is a large food service company, poultry and meat producer, has migrated very successfully within a year plus 2 months. And one of the first ones in the world paved the way for food and bottling industry now has been embarking that journey. I've been part of the very first CPG implementation for a mid-sized company to do the SAP cloud solution implementation. And there is now, these success stories are just piling up. The beauty of this journey has started a while ago now, but now it's very stable and there are significant examples. SAP customers always go back. Can you tell us where in the past you have done it and what were the problems that we don't need to go through those roadblocks and those issues again? That's why we, as the industry experts, having helped the customers with such situations, are being called upon whenever these kind of large scale implementations or even small mid-sized companies are actually from the SME market are taking the journey to adopt S4HANA for the first time. They were all with somebody else, some other companies, and some other ERP solutions, mid-size, smaller, bigger ERPs, but now they are going to SAP just because of this. The journey to migrate, either you are a brand new implementation, grow greenfield, adopt all the best practices that we have done 3+ decades of experience to bring the best of the best to you. Number 2, give us the opportunity to help you migrate, help you implement the solution much faster and better because we know how to do it. The most important thing that Tam said is the migration challenge is disruption to the existing current business. Large businesses or medium businesses, even small businesses, they can't stop. They can't switch off their current engine not to function running their businesses. While that business is happening, you need to have a roadmap and a strategy and a plan to be able to seamlessly implement and then bridge the current production solution with the implementation solution, so you're easily cut over and transition to use the application sooner than later, faster, cleaner, with little or less pain and glitches. That's the beauty of this new solution. The offering is phenomenal, and I'm really excited. I'm more than happy, though I've been doing this for 27 years. I've been more happy last 5-6 years when I saw S4HANA. Customers had always a lot of apprehension. They had fear whether this is going to succeed, how it will succeed. Lot of doubts. Now the world is much truthfully seen, as Tam said. There is always issues around some skill that is out there in the market because you need to always go to some of the SAP to get those skills, and also some of the SIs are grooming these skills and not enough skill. This is a great opportunity for consulting world, large SIs, of course, and also implementation partners. More importantly, it's a thing that need to be watched. You need to watch carefully the type of solution and services required. You need to have a resource has similar industry experience and similar implementation experience to give you a smooth journey. Having a right resource, application is great. S4HANA is the phenomenal product that won the world already with great reviews out there. If you don't bring the right resource to help implement a specific vertical, finance, order to cash, sales, service, marketing, production planning, inventory, warehouse management, you need Ariba, you need to bring that special skill resource. They will make it so easy. It's like finding the right doctor for the right problem. It's going to be painless and easy to win your implementation. Easy, smooth transition to S4HANA well before 2027. But still, I came to know just 3 months ago, there was an article by one of the largest auditing company in the world. Only about 18% to 20% of large SAP organizations have migrated. There is so much still has to happen. Yeah. There's so many companies out there still haven't started. Some have started right now doing planning. They're trying to discover. They're doing the discovery session because SAP goes through an agile implementation framework called SAP Activate. And that actually shows, so a lot of customers are still evaluating this, doing discovery because they are waiting for the large, some of the organizations, like examples that Tam was saying, the lead, somebody has completed an implementation in oil and gas, then the remaining oil and gas companies. I was part of another large oil and gas upstream, downstream organization here in Houston during their S4HANA journey. And now you have many more SAP implementations in oil and gas. So I'm glad to see that the journey is picking up. It's going to be an up curve for the next 10 years.
Brilliant.
Implementation.
Thanks, Madhav. That's a really great summary. A lot to cover in there. Tam, do you want to give us your kind of final thoughts or any references you might have?
Yeah, while this has been a great conversation, and thanks for having us. I would say that what comes to mind immediately is Annalie, the CIO of Balduco, one of the largest manufacturers and commercial bakeries in the Southern Hemisphere, needing to migrate to S4HANA because they were currently limited, or they were limited on ECC on their ability to spin up new and increased production manufacturing capacity. And so she needed to get through that transition in a matter of months, not years, right? To be able to meet a tight deadlines, being able to spin up manufacturing capacity for the holiday seasons where they make their kind of what they're well known for, which are some of their holiday cakes. And when she started looking at the different systems that she had to integrate to feed out those entire processes, even with bringing in an SI, she knew she needed additional accelerators to be able to take the number of systems that were feeding those processes, allow her to run the business as it is currently, but also allows for that transformation, balancing that strategic versus tactical kind of day to day. And she was able to do that. We were able to help her with Digibee to do that. The number of use cases that we've been able to help customers with around this, so the number of success stories is growing. And in fact, it's actually one of our largest use cases is helping people with these S4HANA migration. So Annalie ultimately was able to get a 40% cost reduction and sped up her timeline by 30%. And so, again, what I'll say is the takeaway here is that these technologies and solutions offerings, like Madhav was saying with Rise, or like with his his services or solutions like ours to be able to accelerate that journey, you're not in this alone. And there's a lot of success that's out there where companies like ours and solutions like ours can give you proven success and track records. And make sure that aligns to your kind of business needs and goals. So don't wait until 2027. Don't wait much longer, right? Unlock that value now and leverage the success that companies like ours have had with other customers and hopefully get you along on your journey.
Great point. Very good message.
Great summary.
It's you're going to be left over.
Thanks, Tam. Thanks, Madhav. Really, we're out of time now, gents, unfortunately. I feel we could talk for another hour or so without too much of a problem, but so much knowledge in the room here and some great experiences that you've shared with us. Thank you very much, Madhav and Tam, for your time. We're going to be back for episode 3 in due course, which will be talking about modernization of application infrastructure. Meantime, leaves me to say thank you, gentlemen, and stay well. Speak soon again, I hope. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Great talking to you. It's a pleasure. See you all soon.